What a day this is going to be. It's Thursday. It's Under the Spotlight, my favorite time with you. But I'm so amped up about getting to our guest because he brings a wealth of tips and hints and things that you can do through your life to not only enrich your life and inspire you, but to make changes. Have you ever felt like, gosh, if I could just plow through that negative thought, that thing that holds me back, that whatever that is, that's what he's a professional hypnotist. That's what our guest is going to bring to the table today. Yeah, a hypnotist. Whoa, wait a minute. Yes, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned because we're going to talk about everything from how this applies to everyday life, what you already have, and even some of the misconceptions. I want to welcome you into Under the Spotlight. We have a sponsor today. It's been a continuing sponsor from HappyCo. It's called Perks. It's a beautiful drink that does amazing things to your body. Natural energy, productive energy, clarity, and focus. And you can see that it's working. Cheers to you and everyone here today joining us under the spotlight. Please let us know where you're watching from. That's always fun and fascinating because Joshua's company, X Factor Hypnosis, travels far and wide. Give a nice warm Under the Spotlight welcome to our very special, intriguing guest, Joshua Ray Peters. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, Carmela. Excited to be here with you and with everyone that's here as well.
It's been an anxious week for me in a good way. Like every time I would see a promo or put up something for you about your visit, I tried to reach out to as many people as possible because this isn't a typical opportunity for many of us to have time with you like this. So thank you so much for accepting the invite. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's like I said, I'm excited about this opportunity.
What is it that you would want to share out of the gate? What's on your mind the most, or even in this moment that you want to share with everyone that's watching?
That's a wide open question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I would say is, just to kind of give a little bit of idea of what we're really talking about here. Have you ever had that thought that maybe if only you could get out of your own way, you could be more or do more than you're able to? That is exactly what we're talking about. High performance and having the right mindset to get out of your own way. And we do that, we create these barriers in a lot of different ways, from phobias like fear flying, which can stop you from traveling to places and making money, to fear of putting yourself out there, fear of judgment. Ultimately comes down a lot of times to different types of fear. That's what I help people with, is push past those things that are blocking them so that they can live the life that they truly want to live.
The misconception with hypnosis is you're going to control my mind. It seems like a lot of people, oh, well, you know what, I know, they're kind of not quite sure. But we already have. We have it in us. You're not only guiding us, but can you give us a brief of how that actually works? So let's say
Yes.
My fear is of flying or the success of whatever. How do you take us there, please?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way, I think, to describe, so you hit the nail on the head, right? We see movies. There's a lot of movies that have been come out recently, in fact, that use the evil hypnotist as their bad guy, where they're taking over the mind of somebody. Or maybe you've seen a hypnotic performance in college or something like that, and it appears that the hypnotist has complete control over the people that are on the stage.
Right.
The reality of this is actually much different. So first of all, the movies, the TV shows, those are fiction. Surprise.
Yeah.
And so none of that stuff is actually, based on a true story, but we know how much of the true story is actually involved in that. So that idea that your mind is going to be taken over is just false. The shows where you see these things happen live and it appears that the hypnotist has taken control, there's actually a lot of psychology that goes behind the whole setup of a show that encourages the participants to follow the instructions. And it's not that they're not hypnotized, but there's more to it than I'm taking over your mind. Now, I've been trained in how to do that. Like I love everything that is around hypnosis, and I'm a training junkie, so I learn all kinds of stuff. I've done shows, I've watched shows, I've been in the show before, so I've seen it from all the different angles. And when you are on a stage, you know that you don't have to do the thing that the person is telling you to, but the audience is cheering for you and everyone is on your side. You've made an agreement with the hypnotist that you're going to follow their instructions. You're going to do what they say. You're going to have a good time. You're going to make a fool out of yourself, and everybody's going to enjoy themselves, right? And
Right.
that's so as long as you've made that agreement, that's why you're able to. It's almost like it gives you the permission to act silly. And
Right.
so people do.
Right.
So, but there is hypnosis involved in that as well. So
But
that's
in
kind of,
reality, if I pull this from your site, using neuroscience-based techniques together, you with your client one-on-one, you'll free yourself of self-sabotage, past experiences, insecurities quickly and easily. Get rid of the old patterns of negative thoughts or behaviors and build a new neuro pathway of confidence. So in that space, that's big. Now, this isn't just, oh, I'm going to tell you what to do and then you do it. You're literally helping our brain rewire, so to speak. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please.
No, that's absolutely true. The neuroscience, I'll explain a little bit about the neuroscience behind this. So if we use that fear of flying as an example, right? That's a pretty good example. And really it's any kind of anxiety that's at its core there, right? So whether it's just a general anxiety or a fear of flying, we'll use that because it's nice and specific. What's going on when you're having this experience is literally in the brain, there is a series of neurons connected to each other through synapses. Now that makes a literal pathway in the brain. So you've got a pathway in the brain. This often is created when we're pretty young. And we have lots of pathways in the brain for lots of different things. What can generally happen is a highly emotional experience occurs and the brain marks it as important and creates this pathway. So for example, for fear of flying, perhaps you're on a flight and there was some turbulence and you got scared, you felt anxious. It kind of created that pathway. Over time, this is going to get stronger. So every time you're in a similar type of situation, the brain uses that same pathway, whether this is anxiety around public speaking or around fear of flying. Anxiety is used to get you out of a situation that feels dangerous, right? So think of it, right? You think about doing the thing that's scary. So I know a lot of the people that you work with are putting themselves out there, right? So you think of, I'm going to make a cold call, for example, right? And you feel nervous, you feel anxious, so you don't do it and you feel better. That's the pathway in use right there. Like that's that pathway happening, right? So every time that the brain uses that pathway, it gets stronger. It's neuroplasticity. The pathways that are getting used grow stronger. The pathways that are not being used, they get weaker. We're using those neurons. We're moving them over to the pathways that are being used. This is actually the same thing that we do. This is how we fix the problem. We use the same idea. And from a neuroscience point of view, it's actually really very simple. We talk about the problem. So let's use that example of a fear of reaching out to somebody, right? So we talk about that example. And the way we do that is I'm going to ask you during a session, tell me about the last time that this happened. So you tell me about it. And as you're telling me about it, those neurons are firing off. And that's activating the old pathway. So once you've told me about it, now I'll help you reset it. And we kind of hit a reset. There's lots of different ways to do that, but we reset. And then I'm going to ask you, how would you like to feel instead? So now we identify how you'd rather feel. So I'd rather feel calm. I'd rather feel confident. So tell me about a time when you felt calm and confident. We find the time. We help you tune into that feeling. We make it real for you so that you're actually experiencing that feeling right now. Now we take this feeling, we take it back to that problem that you just told me about, but now you've got the new feeling. So with the new feeling, tell me what happens when you have the new feeling. Well, I pick up the phone and I call the person. It's easy. That's rewiring the brain. That's attaching this new feeling, this new neurons to the pathway. That's it in a nutshell. Now, there's a lot of ways of doing that. That's a little bit simplified of a process, but that's essentially how you rewire your brain.
You just cleared the fresh new canvas. Whatever we all may have been thinking before, now we understand better. This professional who has helped athletes, high-level entrepreneurs, business people, everyday people like you and I who are saying, I just want to live a better life, a life of significance. I want to have a better time with the kids, spending time with the kids. You have your family, you have a beautiful family. Can we share a picture of your beautiful family?
Yeah,
Your
for sure.
lovely wife. She has the coolest first name. How does she pronounce it, please, Joshua?
It's Hava.
Hava. This woman is just lovely. There's the family. How to embrace your family more, how to spend more time with them without family drama, right? Is that one topic that may come to you, Joshua? Do you get topics like that
Oh,
are
for sure.
family-based
So
besides business?
here's the really interesting thing. Somebody comes to me with their problem of anxiety. So
Okay.
it's fear of cold calling, right? So there's anxiety there. But as we explore it, we realize, oh, there's this same avoidance that shows up in your health when you're trying to physically work out and do those things. You do the same thing. Oh, here's that same avoidance pattern when you're having those difficult conversations where you feel that anxiety, so you just don't do it. So this is affecting your health. This is affecting your relationships, your connections, your intimacies. Like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So when you can change that one thing, it can literally change your whole world.
I could just listen to you all day. How will you coach us because I would love a session. Is it one session, two? Is it as many as I need, or how?
I have a couple different ways that I do that. So if we're
I
doing,
kind of jumped into that, didn't I? Like, I'm
yeah, I
ready.
mean, if we're doing one-to-one sessions, I have some different packages for that. I also do a group program, and that's kind of the easiest way to get started. That's actually getting started on May 8th. So if anybody's interested in jumping into a group of high-performing entrepreneurs really leveling themselves up, that would be a great opportunity.
Nice.
Just
What's
reach
the
out to
date
me.
again? May 8th?
May 8th. Yeah, a couple weeks from now.
All right. So many of you are listening to the show live and the replay and on the podcast May 8th. Let's say it's past that time. You can always reach out to Joshua Ray Peters. He's on all social media platforms. But where I'd like to send you is xfactorhypnosis.com so you can have your private time with him. Who's coming to you now, and how has it changed? Like, as we were referencing, maybe the past, we were unaware of the power of utilizing this tool to become the best version of ourselves. But who do you find coming to you most? Those of us who are in the entrepreneurial space, network marketers, we talked about, you mentioned cold calling. That is one of them, or following up, or sharing what we have. Athletes, I noticed athletes was also listed in your testimonials from other people. That's powerful.
So when I first started out, it was pretty much whoever I can work with. And I was trained as in a very traditional way, as a traditional kind of hypnotist. And like I said, I'm a bit of a junkie, training junkie. So I have taken all different types of trainings. You can see two of them on the wall there, but I don't hang up all of the certifications I have. It would just be this big wall of certifications.
You need to do that. It would be awesome. There's one of them. I stole that picture.
Yeah, right. But what I've learned, so I've kind of taken all the different trainings that I've done, and over time I've combined them into essentially my own style. So the hypnosis in this change work, it's really both a science and an art. And what you find, this is why I really like the training, is what I find is everyone that I train from has their own take on it, and they have their own unique way of doing the work. So you're always, no matter who you learn from, you're going to glean some nuggets of awesomeness from them. So starting out as a traditional hypnotist, the big things that you think of, at least most people think of, are smoking and weight loss. And those are the two of the things that I started with. But I quickly learned that I had other interests in that. And my network is almost all entrepreneurs and business owners. So a lot of the people that would come to me were struggling with different aspects of their life that were related to their business. I also have a performance background, so I can utilize that to work with creative people. So I really love working with creatives. Those are my favorite kind of people to work with. And
why
I consider an entrepreneur a creative person, because you got to come up with creative ideas. You're thinking outside the box. So that's a pretty wide view. But that's, specifically authors and performers or speakers, entrepreneurs, lawyers. Like, these are a lot of the kinds of clients that I tend to work with, at least now. But again, I'll at least have a call with somebody to see if it's a good fit for me. I don't work with everybody, but usually if I'm not a good fit, I have somebody in my network who does the same kind of work that is a better fit than me.
Is the negative thought or saying something to myself, just a question to get into this a little bit, am I creating that pathway? Oh, I'm so clumsy. Oh, I can't believe I'm so clumsy. Or, wow, I really don't like my hair. I really don't. Am I creating, if we're saying negative things to ourselves, or this cold calling thing, or a network marketing? I have an opportunity, but I'm afraid to reach out to someone. I have all this coaching and all these nuggets and all this positive motivational thing. But the point of it is the application. So all of it's residing up here, the negative and even the positive. But until I learn how to apply to get it out there, I'm just sitting here. I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Makes sense?
Definition of insanity.
Oh.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So to answer that question, you can, if you're doing all this personal development work and like working with the coaches, and then you tell yourself you're never going to do this, you suck at this, whatever you're telling yourself, you're ruining it by using those thoughts. Like, would you say that to a kid?
No.
Your hair looks stupid today. You're never going to be able to get that done. Like, why would you talk to yourself the way you would never talk to anyone else?
And people do it, and we do it to ourselves.
And we do it. And that it's, in some ways it's just human nature. So some of the tricks that I use and I'm not perfect, so some of the tricks that I use when I catch that is I will stop when I notice it, and I'll say to myself, thank you for sharing. And then I'll just flip it around. And so think of it like, because the automatic response that will happen for me is I'll make a mistake and I'll go, oh, you idiot. Like, that's the automatic response for me. So then I'll like, oh, thank you for sharing. And I'll say something like, you're learning to become better at that. Because that's exactly what a mistake is. It's learning something. It's growing. You have to make mistakes to grow. And they're part of what makes a powerful entrepreneur, is the willingness to make mistakes.
Do you use this? I have to read this. The power of using hypnotic anchors to quickly and easily create a state of calm. That was in some of your material. And I thought, that's a very powerful line. I'm not quite sure of all what it means, but you just kind of did something. You said something negative to yourself, but you stopped. You used a moment in time, a breath, to reroute it. Is that what that statement means?
So let's talk about what an anchor is, because we're doing this all the time. Let me think of an example. I just had a client. Yeah, so I have a client that I'm working with who has test anxiety. So she's trying to take a test to get into a master's program, and after a couple of failed attempts, the anxiety has gotten so heavy for her that the last time she tried, she sat down, she started the test, she's looking at the screen, sees the next part come up, and she just shuts the laptop down, and she's done. So she's anchoring anxiety to that test. Okay, so that's something that happens. People that struggle with driving, they anchor. Another client that I'm working with who's dealing with that, she's sitting at a stoplight. She sees the light. It takes her back to a moment when she had a panic attack. Now she's having a panic attack. She's anchored to that light. So we do this all the time, right?
Yes.
With all different types of things, we're anchoring. You know, your partner comes up and gives you a hug, and you just let go. You feel good, right? I saw it right there, right? You were even imagining it can make it happen, right? So
Yes.
what I would do, like what an anchor of calm is taking you into a nice calm state, kind of ramping it up, and then giving you an anchor. So a lot of times for that, I'm going to use something like this. This is an anchor, touching that finger to the thumb, and then really feeling into that. So, we do that in a hypnotic state. I can do calm. I do confidence a lot with people. You can anchor any state to anything. So, but a lot of times it's touching a finger to a thumb, or touching your ear, or whatever it happens to be. For sports, for example, hockey. Worked with a kid who had got hit hard in a hockey game, and now every time he's trying to push himself out there, he's holding himself back. He's got some fear around getting hit, but that's not going to help him be successful. So for him, what he told me was, and he's the goalie.
Oh.
And what he told me was, he holds his stick and he kind of pushes his hands together. That's just what he does anyway. So we anchored the feeling of confidence to doing that. So when he's up there and he just does that, boom, he's got all those feelings of confidence. They just flow back into him.
This is mind-blowing. This is the power of our mind. You're tapping into the power of what we already have up there. We just don't know how to retrieve it.
And what you just said is the key. I am not doing anything to you. I'm not creating anything for you. You have all of these resources already. So what I'm helping you do is to find them, to find the resources that you want. We move them over here from this context to this context where you need it, the place where you have it to where you need it.
Oh,
and
my
that's
gosh.
essentially what all this stuff is doing.
I'm so curious what everybody's thinking. What do you wish you could get through? You mentioned anxiety multiple times. That's like rampant now. Anxiety, depression, self-sabotage, worry, just all these things. As a parent, we're always on high alert with our kids to make sure we're giving them everything we can. I mean, there's so much to this. How do I know two things? How do I know I need this toolbox from you? How do I know? Do I know it apparently? Oh my gosh, I really am afraid to make cold calls, or I am afraid to, or I'm a high level coach and I just want to be how do I know I need it?
So here are some of the symptoms, right?
Symptoms, yes.
Of people. So you're procrastinating. You're a perfectionist. You're avoiding something. You're doing something, or you're feeling something, or even thinking something that you don't want to do or feel or think. And you've tried a lot of different things. So you've tried reading books. You've tried going to seminars. Maybe you've tried therapy. You might have tried microdosing, right? Tried everything, and none of it has quite worked. Sometimes it works for a little while, but the problem is that the underlying pathway is still firing. And so sometimes these other things work like a Band-Aid, like, medication is a good example. And there's nothing wrong with taking medication. It can be very helpful. The point of it is to do the same thing to get you to a place where you're creating your own pathways. What the feedback that I get from clients that end up coming to me is, I've been on the medication and it kind of dulls things, but it hasn't solved the problem, right? I think of it like a Band-Aid. Sometimes we need a Band-Aid. We need to get through the day. But if all you're using is a Band-Aid over a bullet wound, it's not going to heal. You got to get the bullet out first. And so that's what this is doing. We're taking out that bullet so that you can heal.
That right there. So is everybody surmising what's whirling in our brain? How now I know, let's say I know I have a concern or an issue. I know I'm stretching this a little bit, but this is such valuable information. It's such a life-changing opportunity here, because we can sit here all day and say motivational coaching tips, tricks, and we've had so many. Our guests are amazing on the show, which is why this is a perfect fit for you. You're giving us something that we really can do and apply and change, so that we can apply the other things that we need. Okay. Yeah. If I step in to this program in fear, how are you going to help me? I'm scared to even come and see you. I'm just even afraid of what's going to be happening. How do I prepare? How do I make that step? Can you, I know you can't, wave your hand or a magic wand or anything like that, but nudge us a little bit to get this up. And the reason I'm asking, it's selfish, really. I know a lot of people in our industry, in our space, that get a lot of free, wonderful coaching, but don't apply it.
Yeah.
Because of fear. It seems like fear is at the core of everything that holds us back. So now maybe you're aware of what's holding you back. Joshua is here, a professional who is here to say, let's connect so we can help you move through that pattern that's been there for goodness knows how long, right?
Yeah. So, most of these patterns are childhood things. Not always, but most of the time. And something happens, emotional, can be positive or negative, doesn't really matter. The brain will find, like, there's too much happening every day for us to store every experience that we have. So those experiences that are highly emotional are the ones that get kept.
Yes.
And then they get stored, and then we kind of relive them over and over and over again, both the positive and the negative. And a lot of times the negative ones, especially, they will, as kids, we don't really know what's going on. We don't know what life is all about. And yet, so we make something up about life or about ourselves, and then we live the rest of our life as if that was true.
Wow. I love earlier that you asked the question, what do we want the result to be? And what's so wonderful about your program is we'll know right away that it is working. As soon as we have that breakthrough, we're living the life that we want. Joshua, this is absolutely just remarkable. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to share and be so generous. And I'm curious, but I'm almost hesitant to ask because I want to just linger in this, and we do have to wrap. But such your brain power for learning. What's next on your docket? What's next on the list of things that you want to learn? Can you share with us something you're working on for yourself?
Yeah. So I'm always learning marketing. So that's one thing. You gotta learn to market and to explain yourself. I am very interested in consciousness, right? So this is all about consciousness, exploring our consciousness, creating a higher level of consciousness. And one of the things that fascinates me is the power of plant medicines and how those can also alter consciousness. This summer, I'm working with another hypnotist who also has an interest in plant medicines. And she has looked at what are those kinds of experiences that create life-changing events for people. And then she backward, uh, what do you call it? Reverse engineered it, figured out what the details were, and then using a breath work rather than the medicine, she's created a process where you use breath work and hypnosis to help to bring people to that same type of place and just change their life in a process. That's
Ooh.
something that I'm pretty excited about learning, and we'll do that this July.
Can't wait. This is exciting. So everyone can reach out to you on all platforms. They can check you out. Go right to the website. That's the best place to have your own one-on-one with Joshua, to have communication and so forth. Thank you so much for being under the spotlight with me today. This has been amazing. You deserve a very, very big spotlight, because what you've done for us, the other piece that I want to leave everyone with, you made it available to all of us. If I'm in my faith, I haven't crossed any border that says, "Oh, that's a little too woohoo," right? Right? Because we're trying
That's
to go
that's
ahead.
one of the I whatever my beliefs are don't even really matter. I'm gonna work with you
Right?
in your beliefs. And so I do work with people that have a strong faith and belief in God, and that's important to them. And that's where we go. If I have somebody else that has no interest in that, that's fine. The, the process doesn't require a certain, like, there's no believing in it or not believing in it. This is just stuff that works,
There
right?
you go.
Like
Right?
I said, there's neuroscience behind this. This is what every kind of change work is doing. So whether it's therapy, whether it's psychology, whether it's plant medicine, that does the same thing. It's shaking up the neurons. Whether it's neurofeedback, all of these things, EMDR, all of these different types of therapies are doing this. They are breaking apart those patterns so that you can create new ones.
I think we're ready for that. How many of us are ready to create some new patterns, some new fresh pathways for a better life? Joshua Peters, thank you so very much for being my guest. And if you'll hang out with us for a little bit, Peter and I definitely want to visit with you after. Let me give a thank you to everyone watching the show today, listening to the podcast. You can find all the information about where we reside if you join us on our VIP audience at carmelasterling.com. And you'll see all of the podcasts listed and where to go, YouTube as well. And today's show, brought to you by Perks. My mind is whirling right now. Oh my gosh. If you comment below the word happy, we'll put you in a drawing for a free full container of this amazing drink that I just love because it tastes great and I can feel my neurons kicking in. And we're going to go spend some time talking with Joshua, and you can too. Don't forget to go to xfactorhypnosis.com, and can't wait to hear your feedback from today's show. See you next time under the spotlight.